Hello my viewers and welcome back to my channel. Subscribe, like and be part of this conversation by sharing your thoughts in the comment section down below. I welcome you to this powerful and thought-provoking video where we witness a heated debate between palm color people and Black South Africans. Now the conversation starts with a palm color woman's claim that palm color people voted for democracy, but a Black woman quickly corrects her, pointing out that only a handful of palm color people supported the ANC in 1994. Now the discussion escalates as the Black woman confronts the palm color woman about the legacy of apartheid and the ongoing disparities in South Africa. Now, as we listen to this intense exchange, we are reminded of the similar struggles faced by Black Americans and the eerie echoes of their experiences. The Black woman's words cut deep, challenging the palm color woman to acknowledge the historical baggage of oppression, land theft, and cultural erasure. Now, in this video, we are invited to confront uncomfortable truths of our collective past and the ongoing impacts of systemic racism. We are asked to consider the power dynamics at play and the pain that's been perpetuated across generations. So join me as we take a look into this critical conversation and explore the parallels between the experiences of Black South Africans and Black Americans. Let's listen, learn, and grow together. With that said, check out this interesting video. I will be right back.
White people voted for this democracy.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't, Sissy. No, they didn't.
Yes.
A handful. Did you vote ANC in 1994?
I'm not talking about the ANC. Please listen. In 1992, white people had a referendum to decide whether they're going to allow the vote. And we gave the vote because we thought that what was happening was
yours to give. Do you acknowledge that? It was not your country to take in the first place, but we acknowledge the fact that you are here. We acknowledge that you are here. I think it's about owning the truth of your own story with all of its complexity. So for me, as an educated middle-class woman, I know that when I walk into spaces, I carry a certain currency that is not carried by my brother who can't pee in a toilet that I peed in when I went to Vits.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But at the same time, I also acknowledge that when I do walk into spaces, for example, going into very poor, disenfranchised communities, I also have to acknowledge that the dysfunction that I see that exists in those communities is part of my historical baggage. I carry it within me. It's in my family. It's in my heart. It's in my choices. And what is worrisome is seeing people who own so much power in terms of land, in terms of resources, in terms of people you employ, in terms of the language that you've taken from these people and used to create a nation. You own so much power, but do you concede that? Do you acknowledge that? Do you own that? If you owned a little bit of that, it would be easy to come to the table with you. It would be easy to acknowledge death is death, pain is pain. I mean, there were 350 years of conscription in this country. It's only one generation of white men who didn't go into the military. How much pain exists in white families? I'd be willing to hear that more than I'm willing to hear that your pain is your pain only, because everybody in this room is carrying pain.
But I don't believe the debate from our side. 20 years into this democracy, the debate from our side has never been to negate your pain, nor has it ever been about saying that we want back to where we came from. Is it your country?
It's all of our countries. But acknowledge it's all of ours. It's all of ours. It's all of ours. It's all of ours. That's fine.
It's not yours. It's not yours.
This is not the place. This is not the place.
It's my country.
Yes, sir. This is not the place.
It's everyone's country.
Everybody in this parade are saying we don't belong here.
Okay, no one can hear you at this point, so I'd like to actually have a conversation, and I'll ask for tolerance in this room, please. Tolerance. All right, Sinet?
What I'm saying is that I don't think the problem is with people on the ground, even the people sitting here. People who govern and politicians are determining the success of what is happening on the ground. We have rhetoric where people go on stages and say the colonists must go and we stole the land and we stole the mines. The Brits took the mines. Buddha never had mines. And we can't keep on having that rhetoric and move forward. Every time I switch on a television or I put on a radio and Julius Malema says that we don't belong here, and what is happening? It's a problem. You cannot preach preach reconciliation to one segment of the country and preach empowerment to the other segment.
All right.
There's a vast difference between, and I agree with you, there's a vast difference between rhetoric that's used to manipulate the population and sway people and the truth. Ne? And I would be interested in hearing how white people process the emotional baggage of what their ancestors did. I would be interested in trying to understand what it did to white families. How much silence did white people have to cope with? How did white people build a shield around themselves to be able to deal with the system in which whiteness operated all these years? That's an emotional conversation. That's a delicate conversation. I'd be willing to do the work of trying to unravel that, because right now as a black person, I'm trying to do the work of unraveling my own baggage, my own historical baggage. I think when white people start to do that work, then we'll start to begin the project of trying to understand how all of us belong to this place. But you can't erase history. We can't pretend the violence didn't happen. We can't pretend colonialism didn't happen. We can't pretend people weren't slaves. We can't pretend our people are not poor. It happened. It happened. I'd be willing to hear white people say, you know what, it was Tuck trying to pretend that this situation was normal. But I'm not hearing white people do that work.
All right. All right. When we return, a poetic moment. Don't go away.
Africa is a fractured mirror, a paradox of schizophrenic selves who don't talk to one another, who coexist together but don't live with each other. And this is the time when you can become the greatest substance of your dreams, unless you live in a shack and don't speak English and don't know what this poem means. Tell me how it's possible for people who walk on gold to not know how to read. South Africa is an old-fashioned mutt who knows how to sing and knows even better how to cuss, who knows how to pray when she's about to run out of luck, who knows how to laugh really hard when the tears have run her into a rut, who knows that race is a farce, because when the lights are off, everybody's
There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of, I don't hear hope yet. I don't know about you, but I don't hear hope yet.
I hear it. I hear it. Just us being here, having this conversation together, getting to a space that we need to get to as a nation. It will take a very long time. It's not child's work. For me to sit and listen to Sunette, listen to Pierre, listen to Sisonke and to Lebu, and hear the various voices and digest the message that comes from them, I feel pained. I feel their pain. But at the same time, I feel there's hope because we're talking about it. We put a plaster on a gunshot wound in this country. That's what we did. And that needs to stop. We need to talk to each other and then come to a space of understanding.
Because you're with the EFF.
Yes, I am with the EFF.
Explain that to me.
Well, I explain in a simple fashion that in this country we've got more than 70% of the nation that's living in utter poverty. And if you go into the townships and especially in the squatter camps and you see how our children are living, we're talking about kids. We're not talking about black, white, color. We're talking about kids. So when I look at the economic freedom fighters, we are looking at changing this country to bring it into a social system where there will be no class, where the state can take control and we can live in a society where everybody can be brought up to the same level. The thing of the Rainbow Nation that it did work, reconciliation can only work if we both reconcile. You cannot have Nelson Mandela giving forgiveness for a racist group of people that oppressed black people in the Apartheid era and say, let us forgive them. They don't come forward and say, yes, we accept your forgiveness, let's reconcile with each other. They don't do that. We still have people in the audience here. We still have people in the audience here, like a gentleman there when she was talking about the black people being more educated and can actually contest for a position. I had a comment say, yeah, let's kill them. It's those comments that makes people to be killed on farms also. Because when you undermine a black person in this country longer, they are going to kill you.
I'm Myrtle Wetboy and I'm from the South African Domestic Workers Union. It's not about color. It's not about whether I'm a colored It's when I'm a human being. And I think we need to do that. Do you know the pain of a domestic worker? Do you know what it is to be isolated in the backyard of employers? To sit there when the employer go out with their beautiful cars and I remain in the backyard. I was there in the apartheid years. But one man came out and he forgave. And that time, when I was in the struggle, I did not say I was a colored. I did not say Mandela is black. We were fighting for freedom. That is what we were doing. I did not classify myself as a colored. And when Comrade Mandela came out, he said there's black and there's white. And since that day I walked that path. I am black. And I am proud of it. If we want to free ourselves, we must free ourselves from this color thing. We're not going to become free because we are bitter.
We are oppressed even in our working place. Our employers don't recognize us. We raise the children. But you find that at the end, you dismiss, you are stealing, my pant is missing, my sugar is missing.
Now, this video showcases a poignant and powerful conversation between two South African women from different racial backgrounds. The discussion centers around the legacy of apartheid and the ongoing struggles of reconciliation. The sisters' words are a stark reminder of the pain and injustice that persists in South Africa even after the end of apartheid. Her emphasis on the need for acknowledgement and ownership of historical wrongdoing is a crucial step towards healing and reconciliation. The palm color woman's initial defensiveness and reluctance to engage with the past highlights the ongoing challenges of confronting privilege and complicity. However, her eventual willingness to listen and learn is a glimmer of hope for the possibility of growth and understanding. Now, this conversation serves as a microcosm for the broader struggles of South Africa and indeed the world. It underscores the importance of creating spaces for difficult dialogues, active listening, and empathy. Now, as we witness this exchange, we are reminded that reconciliation is a continuous process that requires effort and dedication from all parties involved. It's a call to action for everyone to engage in similar conversations, to confront their own biases and privileges, and to work towards a more just and equitable society. Now, the scars of apartheid run deep, leaving a legacy of segregation, discrimination, and inequality. Now, this is evidenced by the stark economic disparities in the country. A 2022 World Bank report on inequality in Southern Africa gives South Africa the unfortunate distinction of being the most unequal country in the world. Now, the report stated that 80% of the country's wealth was in the hands of 10% of the population, and it is the black population who factor the most into the poorest category. The report places the blame for the income disparities directly on race. Now, the legacy of colonialism and apartheid, rooted in racial and spatial segregation, continues to reinforce inequality. The report states, the spatial divide mirrors the economic one. The evil genius of apartheid was a segregation project, as it allowed the government to not only separate people based on arbitrary categorizations, but through this create material differences between the communities to reinforce the idea of actual racial differences, say Tessa Dooms. Now, these racial classifications also encourage the idea that different groups needed to compete for basic human rights, dignity, and economic opportunities. The apartheid government didn't just give people categories. They gave real live material meaning to those categories. As long as those categories mean something in the world, we still have work to do to undo apartheid, to undo colonialism, to decolonize. Now, to do this, Dooms recommended practical vision as to what a decolonized South Africa would look like, being very specific about the results wanted. She also called on the privileged groups to do the heavy lifting of helping to create more equality. Until those with privileges work to broaden access to them, the cycle will continue. We cannot leave creating a more just world to the people who are most affected by injustice, she said. It's not fair, it's not right, and it won't work. Now, globally, South Africa's post-apartheid Apartheid Long Walk to Freedom has garnered an international reputation as a leader in global efforts to combat racism. In 2001, South Africa hosted the World Conference Against Racism, Racial Discrimination, Xenophobia, and Related Tolerance, which resulted in the Durban Declaration and Program of Action. The DDPA is a roadmap providing concrete measures for states to combat racism, discrimination, and xenophobia and related intolerance. On the big recommendations was to have each country create its own national action plan. The plan is a means through which governments locally codify their commitment to taking action with concrete steps on how they will combat racism. South Africa launched its plan in 2019 with OHCHR ROSA providing technical assistance. Now, this assistance took many forms, including participation in consultations that led up the final NAP and helping to set up support structures for its implementation and support for research and other work to help develop systems for data collection on issues related to the NAP. Human rights play a crucial role in dismantling racism by providing a framework for addressing and rectifying historical injustices, promoting equality, and ensuring that all individuals are treated fairly and with dignity. Now, various other sectors have pioneered innovative approaches to chip away at apartheid's remnants. Corporate and governmental diversity programs such as BBBEE and the Employment Equality Amendment Bill of 2020 aim to promote diversity and equity in the workplace. Now, the conversation we just witnessed is a stark reminder of the immense work that still needs to be done in addressing the deep-seated issues of racism, privilege, and power imbalances in our society. The fact that Pamkala people continue to deny and downplay their role in perpetuating systemic oppression is a significant obstacle to progress. As a sister so eloquently stated, Pamkala people need to concede the fact that they own a disproportionate amount of power and privilege. Until they acknowledge and own this reality, it will be impossible to have meaningful conversations and work towards true reconciliation. It's not about being colorblind or pretending that we are all equal when we're not. It's about recognizing the historical and ongoing injustices that have led to the current state of affairs. It's about listening to and amplifying the voices of marginalized communities rather than speaking over them or dismissing their experiences. As a sister said, if Pamkala people could own just a little bit of their power and privilege, it would be easier to come to the table and have genuine discussions. It would be easier to acknowledge that unaliving is unaliving and pain is pain, regardless of the color of one's skin. But until then, we will continue to see performances of defensiveness, denial, and dismissal. We will continue to see the perpetuation of systemic racism and maintenance of the status quo. It's time for Pamkala people to do the hard work of self-reflection, self-education, and self-accountability. It's time for them to concede their power and privilege and work towards creating a more just and equitable society for all. We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do my viewers have to say? Share your thoughts and contributions as well in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.